the finance director position. Obviously, that's still vacant. Yeah, we're plugging along, trying to keep everybody happy.
So do you want to move on to item 10 then?
Sure.
The amendment. I think we all received that, or at least I did today. You maybe have it in front of you.
So we had a proposal from Public Administration Associates. They do a lot of recruiting for counties, towns, villages, and cities for our finance director position. It's been vacant for over 4 months. We've had candidates, but not really anyone that's been qualified. We had one offer extended, but he declined for personal reasons. We've done quite a few screenings, but really no one that we felt would be a good fit here or who had the knowledge to come in and do the job, or that we thought would be able to do it. We'll have an updated proposal from Public Administration Associates. John's obviously this one has a completely different timeline because we received this a couple months ago. And general government, we had kind of said, maybe not quite yet, maybe not quite yet. And then this last month, they're like, okay, it's been over 4 months. And we have saved over $41,000 in wages and fringes by not paying a finance director in the interim. So our proposal would be to have a budget amendment to move that to our HR department for recruitment purposes and engage Public Administration Associates.
So this 18,600, is that just for that one position, or is that going to be for other positions?
It's for the one position.
Okay, if we don't hire somebody, do we still pay the 18,000?
So it's broken out. Let me see if I can find the page for you, because that came up at general government as well.
Last payment is on confirmation.
36. So 1/3 of recruitment costs upon approval of recruitment documents, 1/3 of recruitment costs upon selection of the finalists for the position, and 1/3 recruitment costs upon confirmation of the finance director by the county.
So technically, it's only 12,000 if we don't hire somebody.
And then if we don't hire someone in the first round, they will conduct a second round. And we, in that second round, we would be responsible for the advertisement costs. Is that right, Jerry? Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Advertisement.
We would have some costs that some say could be substantial. Some say not. I don't know.
What's substantial?
Whatever the cost of advertising is.
5,000, 10.
I don't know.
I would suggest if we get into phase 2, we would ask them.
Yeah, we would, if we engaged with them, we would ask about that.
Okay.
But I think you'd have to pay the 12,000. You know, if we engage them, I think it's in here. And then somebody would walk in here off the street tomorrow and say, I'll do it. And we're like, perfect. We still have to pay like 12 grand because.
So pay 12, but not the 18.
Yeah. Even if they're not involved. But that's just the way it works. It's like having a realtor.
Yep.
Once you sign it away, it's theirs.
So we pull everything we have posted and they start, correct?
Turn it over to them.
Have you had any applicants in the last couple months?
We've had 32 total as of July 3rd. 11 that we pre-screened and 4 in-person interviews that we did. And I have spent $4,634 in advertising, just my advertising.
How much was that? How much?
4,000.
How much?
4,634.64. It's the same numbers I gave at general government.
What type of education are you requiring? Do you know?
It's right on the back.
For finance, but we'd also take someone with business administration, with public administration, if they had that financial background. Or it also does list on the job description that we're also interested in someone with military background that would also be able to fit the position needs, or just general experience. So if they don't have that specific degree, doesn't mean we wouldn't consider them if they had extensive background
Experience.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
I will say I have been very selective in who we've screened and interviewed.
Well, you have to be up to the last.
Yeah.
I know what this job entails, and it's going to be a lot, especially with our ERP implementation, and I don't want to set someone up to fail. I also want someone who can work with all of our different department heads and who can work with the board members, and that does take a certain skill set. So I did get references to on Public Administration Associates. That's something General Government Committee asked me to do. Grant County has worked with them. Richland County has worked with them. There was another one I gave to General Government. It wasn't Iowa. I can't remember.
Doesn't the county association have any?
They have a website you can post a job on. Which
They
we did.
don't offer anything else.
No.
Okay.
No.
I just wondered.
Yeah.
Do you guys like advertise on like LinkedIn and all those other things?
We were messaging people on LinkedIn. We stalking people. It's been on Indeed. We posted it on, there's Wisconsin, finance, what is it? Wisconsin Government Finance Officers Association.
I got walked out of a CPA
Elite.
firm trying to poach somebody.
Yeah, I called everyone that I know. We've really been trying to fill this.
Sorry, sir, you have to leave.
Okay. In terms of all that, is there a motion to move this budget amendment forward to the county board?
I think it's actually going based from general government. I think we're looking for finance to like support it.
All right, okay, all right, then that's a miscue. Would you like to, is there someone that would like to make the motion to co-support this budget amendment?
I'll make that motion. The only thing I have under the last resolved, the date's wrong on this, it should be 23rd day of July.
That's general government was July 3rd.
Yeah.
Finance committee is down here.
What's that submitted to the county board of supervisors for consideration?
Well, that's the day Gen Gov.
That's for general government. And then down here, there's a statement submitted for consideration on the 23rd day of July from the finance committee.
I'm just looking at this one. It says submitted to the county board of supervisors on the 3rd.
Yeah, that's how, when we have resolutions that are from two committees, that's how they always look. So there's one here from Gen Gov and one here from finance.
We've got two.
Okay.
We can maybe throw another space in there. Make it less.
Is there, okay.
I'll
thank
make
you.
the second if Charlie's got the motion there.
Yep.
All right, thank you, Will. Any other discussion?
So through there.
Mhm.
If not, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. So you will give an explanation then at county board meeting on Thursday, correct, Kathy?
Correct.
Okay, good. Next on the agenda, explanation of long-term care and closure funds for landfill. Stacy, are you here or who is going to report?
Hi, Kay.
Hi.
I am here. I did email you something too for this presentation, just a
Okay.
bit ago.
All right.
Don't talk too fast on it. Take
I can't promise that.
There's nothing in the packet.
I didn't see anything.
I just brought a sheet with my presentation. Am I able to?
Yeah, you should be able to share. I'm not sharing any first.
Oh, it's coming up, yes, okay.
Okay. There we go.
Okay. Okay, so I'm here today to talk to you guys about the long-term care enclosure. So to start off, what is long-term care enclosure? It is proof of owner financial responsibility. It ensures that the owner operator of a solid waste facility, that there is sufficient funds available to close the facility as well as to care for it after the facility is closed.
That's been 40 years.
Yes, it's 40 years is the term the DNR said. So closure is capping it, putting it to rest. And then the long-term care is the continuing maintenance. You still do the environmental monitoring for a period. You will still haul leachate out of that, out of the landfill. So there's two separate funds for that. Its purpose, so NR 520, the owner of any landfill is responsible for its closure, for any remedial actions required by the department, and for the perpetual long-term care. The purpose of it is to ensure that there's funding available to the owner or the Wisconsin DNR to perform the necessary closure of the landfill and care for it after it is closed. In the instance that the owner operator is not around or unable to fulfill those requirements, there is money set aside to do so for the DNR.
I didn't realize that the DNR actually takes over if we don't.
Right, yes.
No.
So requiring this enables the DNR to minimize the potential risk to the environment and ensure costs of necessary site closure activities. And it ensures that those responsibilities remain the responsibility of the owner operator. So essentially what this is I don't know if you guys have heard of the Superfund sites. So before the NR 500 code came out, before landfills were really governed, there was a lot of dumps and places where people were just throwing things, burying them, burning them, whatever. Some of these sites ended up causing major environmental contamination. It had to be completely remediated and then put into an NR 500 landfill. And these sites, some of them left the DNR, the EPA holding the financial bag from this. So this code is protecting the DNR and making sure the person that created it is responsible for paying for it. So there's two types of mechanisms you can use to prove owner financial responsibility. One is a fee-based mechanism. So owner operator of a facility pays a third party a fee. Third party guarantees funding to the DNR in the event of closure or long-term care. This could be in the form of surety bonds, irrevocable letters of credit, an insurance policy. Otherwise, there are interest-bearing mechanisms. So owner operator of a facility puts up the money, puts it into an account that generates and accrues interest, also granting or giving DNR access and rule over that funding. So the three types of those are a deposit with the Department of Natural Resources in their investment pool. There is an escrow account or an irrevocable trust. I have the escrow account highlighted in yellow here because the escrow account is what Vernon County currently has to prove owner financial responsibility to the DNR today. I have the deposit with the department highlighted in green because we are in the process of transferring our escrow account with People's State Bank, moving that to a deposit with the Department of Natural Resources, primarily because of better interest rates. With the department, it gives the Department of Natural Resources, they've got people that sit and monitor this investment pool that they have, so it'd be better managed there, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah. Are you making any progress in that? I know you said that.
Yes. I spoke with Dustin Shawley from the DNR, I think it was last week, and we authorized them to sell everything and transfer. He's like, what you're going to lose, it was a fraction of a percent. And he's like, you'll regain it. So we just, go ahead, please move it.
But just 1 minute here. Once you give that to the DNR, anything goes wrong, they're just going to take that money, aren't they? If you have it in an escrow, don't you still have some say, wouldn't you? Or
It's similar to are you familiar with the local government investment pool and those funds? So a lot of municipalities use the LGIP and keep their funds in there. The ease of access to it's a lot easier, and it usually has a pretty decent percentage rate. I think right now it's like
5.35 is what.
Yeah. Well, I'm not looking at so much what it's making. I'm just looking how the DNR operates. and I just, all of a sudden they're going to accuse you of doing something wrong, and they're just going to, that account is with them, and they can you know.
I don't,
So
I see what you're saying, but I don't think it would matter because
What?
if they're gonna fine you, if they don't have the money, say they send you a fine, it's gonna be interest and penalty. You have to do the same legal maneuvering to get out of it that you would if they just took your money, and you'd have to do the same thing to get the money back, right? I mean,
So,
that's not gonna change now.
so right,
Oh, you might be right, Chair.
so with regard to the escrow account, anything that we do within there still had to go through the DNR. Like they still have a say in how this is managed. Like in the state code, it lists like you can only invest in certain types of very low risk investments.
Okay. I didn't realize
Their hands
that.
are very much
I
in your
didn't think
money.
they were in there. Okay.
I know this is a long ways down the road, all this happens, whatever, but say that we use up 80% of that money, does the rest of the money go back to the county then? Or does this DNR just say, yep, there's.
It's all mine.
So my understanding of this process is the county, okay, for the closure account. And I guess maybe if I could, let me move forward and I'll try to answer this. So the process, because this is, let me move this so I can read my computer. So the process, so both the mechanisms, both the mechanism and the cost estimate. So mechanism, how we fund it. Right now we're escrowed. And then a cost estimate is done for closure to put it to rest. And then there's another additional cost estimate that is completed for how much it's going to cost annually to care for the facility after it's closed. All three of those are established in the plan of operations. So that plan of operations is a very all-encompassing guidance document of how that is operated from the shovel in the ground to after it's closed. There are two separate accounts, which is why I want to get to the slide. There is one for the closure and one for long-term care. And I've got a document here to show you guys to demonstrate that for you. But these amounts are required to be recalculated every 10 years. Our long-term care was last done in 2021. The closure estimate was done in 2015. The DNR then annually establish and use inflation rates to estimate the annual required amount in these accounts. I verify that every year with Dustin Shalley with the DNR. He probably gets very tired of hearing from me, but I reach out to him during budgeting time at the beginning of the year, typically around third quarter time, just to kind of verify and see where we're at. And then historically, we have budgeted payments into these accounts annually because they haven't generated enough interest to keep them with the inflation rates.
So the plan of operations, you said that was 15, so next year?
Yeah, so next year,
Don't you think that's gonna change drastically?
the inflation rate or our interest.
Yeah, from 2015.
I'm sure, well, that, yes, but so here, I'm gonna hand you, well, I'll just keep this one and let you hand them around the table. So this report I'm handing you, Kay, I emailed it to you. This is the calculation sheet that the DNR provides me every year.
Yeah, I got it. We're good.
Okay. So again, this is the Excel spreadsheet that I get from Dustin Shalley at the DNR every year. They calculate this. So owner financial responsibility calculations. To the left, we'll start with the long-term care cost calculation. So our facility is right now estimated to be closing in 2025. This may be changing to 26 or 27, depending on garbage volumes. Okay. So long-term care period, they estimate 40 years, which would be through 2065. The annual long-term care cost estimate that was drafted in 2020, approved in 21, estimated the cost to be $66,227 per year for just the long-term care activities of the landfill. Now, if you move down that section, they use the year of the cost estimate, a compound inflation factor, and then that annual cost estimate in 2024 dollars goes up to $77,431. So they do recalculate this annually for inflation. So kind of moving down this chart here, it gives the projected inflation rate, interest rate, what type of mechanism we have, IDs, where it's from. And then, so the mechanism amount as of May of this year for the long-term care account is at $2,104,015. We are required by the end of this year to have in there $1,991,579. So right now, as we sit here today, the long-term care account is overfunded $112,000. Now, if we move to the right-hand column, the closure cost calculations in orange, it's laid out very similar. So the approved closure cost estimate of $1,522,890 was approved in 2015. Using that compound inflation factor, it increases the closure cost estimate to $2024 and puts it at $1,929,400. Again, it lists what type of mechanism we're using, where it's at, the weighted average annual return, and then the mechanism amount as of May of 2024 was at $1,774,310. We are required by the end of the year, and please don't panic on me, we're required at the end of the year to have $1,892,872 in there, which is showing that the closure fund is underfunded by $118,500. Now, since we are moving these two, this investment into the deposit with the Department of Natural Resources, I authorize them to move money from the long-term care into the closure fund. So the closure fund will be funded, fully funded. The long-term care by the end of the year, the difference is the $6,125. So by the end of the year, we'll make that up in interest. So the DNR did not require any payment for 2024 into the long-term care.
This makes sense.
And the back side is the long-term care schedule. This again is also all calculated, part of the same spreadsheet from the DNR. Reason I'm including this, the first 2 years you see zero deposit expected. It lists the beginning balance, expected interest, what we either need to deposit or what they anticipate us withdrawing, and then the balance at the end of the year. If you look at the interest column, they are anticipating our interest to pay for the withdrawal once the long-term care period is initiated, all the way through year 19 of closure, year 2043. Now, that is if interest rates stay wonderful. So this will vary annually. But I just wanted to demonstrate that the amount of money that's in these accounts now should, if managed and interest rates stay relatively solid, then we should be able to, this should fund itself for a substantial period before in this highlighted year. The following year is when the interest is less than the withdrawal, and then it starts to drain that long-term care fund. There's mud.
Well,
It's better you got this sheet.
but with this transfer, then you shouldn't have to budget anything anymore
You're really hoping to come out.
because the interest income will offset all that.
Yes.
Plus.
Yes, if, barring interest rates, but this, like I said, Dustin's probably sick of hearing from me. I do keep very, very close contact with him and verify this stuff.
Well, 5%, it's 100,000 a year.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But
It'll keep growing.
yeah, I just did a quick math on it. You've got a pretty good cushion in there. So if it does go down some, you still should be good.
Yeah, and the reason the one is underfunded, the one is overfunded is when I made the last deposit, they put it in the wrong account.
Can you
Put
move
it in.
it back and forth or not?
With permission from the DNR. And Dustin suggested that. He's like, when we move this money over, do I have your authority to balance her out? I was like, please do. I offered to make the $6,000 payment. I have $55,000 budgeted for this year for that. I did keep the $6,125 in that account to pay for that in the event they wanted us to, and he didn't think it was necessary because it should accrue the interest to pay that and then some. And I know at the county board, the last county board meeting, I did get a little into the weeds. Oops. My bad, sorry. Oh, it's still doing it. Okay. Well, so last county board meeting, I got into the weeds on, so I gave you the current status on some changes that have happened this year. The relatively new rules aren't even released yet. So historically, in state code, they list these 6 options for proof of owner financial responsibility that I gave you. There's also an additional option for proving owner financial responsibility, but it's only been allowed for companies. So let me see if I can't share this again. Sorry, I'm not good with this stuff at all. Looking forward to Connor's training. So there's also this additional option, but it's only historically been for companies, and it's a net worth test. Okay, so it's quite a process, a rigorous process for companies to go through. But it is an additional option for them where they don't have to have all this cash money sitting somewhere. They're able to say, hey, our net worth, we're able to cover this when the time comes. On March 15th of 2024, the Senate passed Bill 624, which is now known as Wisconsin Act 107. And that is giving municipal-owned facilities that same ability to use a governmental financial test to prove owner financial responsibility instead of having all of either the fee-based mechanisms or the cash-based mechanisms. Now there is this other additional option. The rules for that have not been drafted yet. We are anticipating those in November, on November 1st. So that may be another option available to all municipal landfills across the state. I know Monroe County is looking into that option for their facility.
That's so you can reduce your dollar amount in your funds.
Right.
I mean, because it takes in all your equipment, your buildings, and all that stuff also. So that technically you could actually almost get away without having a fund. Without having it cash funded, hey, we'll be good for it. Because we have this equipment and we have this other stuff, which is our net equity.
Yeah, but not to this, you'd have to pass it every year. It is an annual verification process. If at some point we wouldn't pass, then you have to have that all cash funded. It all has to be there. And the long-term care, there's wiggle room with that because, it's projecting 40 years where the closure, if we close today, the DNR wants that money there. So it's giving an additional option for all municipal landfills. And I think it's kind of evening the playing field between a company and a municipally owned landfill because municipalities have had to historically have all this money tied up.
It's a net worth test for both things, both funds.
Mm-hmm.
But if the money's there and it's self-funding, why would you monkey with it?
One of the municipalities I talked to is looking at it as a self-loan. They are also in the same process we are, and they're looking to potentially loan from their long-term care to pay for their construction and then pay that back as their new cell is operating.
How do they determine net worth? Is it only at the landfill or are they looking at other county assets?
Let's see, as an enterprise fund, I don't know.
Well, it'd be constant book work here to figure out, because if you take a loan out for a bunch of equipment, all of a sudden your net worth goes down.
They haven't established what the rules are yet.
Yeah, so that'll all be coming November 1st. This is what's in there with the with Act 107. This was what I found that changed in the code. If the municipality, it talks about general obligation bonds. It talks about, your bond, the bond rating. And then it does talk about a ratio. I haven't looked into this very far because I didn't want to get the whole cart before the horse until the rules come out. But this is kind of being talked about. Like I said, I know I've talked to a couple other municipally owned facilities, and the SWANA group, Arrow, they're the ones that push for this because they kind of felt it wasn't fair to make municipal landfills have all this money tied up while a company could just, we're good for it. And then what happens if they go under?
Okay, this might not be appropriate for right now, but say that the landfill does close. What happens to the landfill? I mean, what happens to the buildings, the equipment? What happens? I mean, does it just sit there forever?
I think that would be up to you guys.
But you know what I'm saying?
But a certain portion you're gonna need just for the ongoing maintenance.
Right, but there's a whole bunch that, if the landfill's closed,
The rest could be.
then what are you doing with the rest of the site? I mean,
As
obviously,
far as I know, there is no, what they're gonna do with it after it's closed. The plan to close it is established, as it is today. So if the county doesn't expand the landfill, we will then have to put up the funds to close it. Once the full closure activities are completed, then the DNR releases the closure account to pay us back. And then I would assume if it's less than what they expect, then the county would get that money back.
no, but like the people and everything that's there, because we're not doing a landfill anymore.
Yep, there would still need to be some form of somebody, because for the first, I believe it's 5 years, they anticipate the landfill to still generate leachate. So the leachate would still have to be trucked. Environmental monitoring, we hire that out now. That would still all need to be done. But as far as the recycling program, as far as the trucks, as far as the staff, the equipment, myself and my staff have been made promises by previous board supervisors. Don't worry, we'll find you a
That's what I'm
job
asking.
here.
I just don't know what it is.
But otherwise, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what that looks like.
I mean, it means like Phil's over there every day taking samples of something.
What is our borrowing rate right?
So you can have time, we got the hard out, things fixed down on the first floor.
That long term for the vehicles and all that?
Like our interest rate?
You can do anything.
I have a question.
Our interest rate on that last note that we just did,
Was it in the fours?
I thought it was 4.
So it would be better to borrow.
Well, that's what I was
Yeah.
getting at, is like if we can borrow for less than what we're getting for interest on that, why would you do that?
It's just an extra option.
Right, it just doesn't
That was
make
pretty
sense
sure.
right now.
I mean, these are all questions you
I
think
don't think
about after
that
we
is
find out what the
right
rules
now.
are and then be like,
Right, but that's basic math. I mean, if you can borrow for 4 and you're saving at 5,
Mhm.
why would you touch it?
what can they give you?
I think the one that I talked to at the time, that wasn't,
CMIM?
it was a better option for them to do that. The interest rate was higher.
Does it make a difference for an enterprise fund though versus, for a loan? I mean, would it still be for?
You'd have to look and see,
Could
The
I
coun-
ask a
budget,
to,
not
Yeah.
the enterprise fund, it's the
Right,
county.
but this would be.
Well, I was thinking what Monroe did was to borrow money out of that to fund something else,
Oh, okay.
which would still be the county, but
Yeah.
the enterprise bothers me, is that should be self-sufficient and not fall back on the county
I mean,
and having to pay for anything.
you really have to have this all in your head, right? Otherwise, you're gonna get robbed over here.
What?
They don't want that robbed because the DNR is watching that.
Kay, you had a question?
yeah, I do. If this gets moved from escrow to the DNR account, can you get it back or is it always forever gone?
No, nope. In talking with Justin Shelley about this additional option, they would then release those funds as long as we would pass that test.
And what's our escrow right now? Isn't it like 1% or something?
It was coming up. So in 2022, we lost money in that escrow account. Anyway, yes. So we met with People's State Bank, myself, Karen DeLapp, and Bobby, moved some of the investments, what they were investing it in, into shorter term, higher yielding, which has done much better.
Yep.
Can I not bring in those again? No.
Somebody's got a mic on.
Okay.
Utilize a
But,
product that you own.
So anyway, so now that that's doing better, they're looking at moving those, we're moving those funds to the DNR because they've got a guy that watches this stuff daily, where with People State Bank, it kind of got, I don't know. I'll take part of the blame, but I won't take all the blame for it.
Blame it on Bobby, she's not here.
No, I'm not, I won't blame her on it either. I just,
It was helpful.
yes, she was the one that went, and we moved into the shorter term higher yields, but I don't believe anybody was.
You can't trust anybody to do it.
So, and the DNR, they've got the same skin in the game, right? Like, they want to make sure it's funded because they don't want to pay the bill for it being closed, you know, for the full closure if our fund is short, and then this would put that ball in their court. So I kind of like that idea. And they've been asking me to move our money into their fund since the day I was made director out there. It's been being pushed, and at the time they weren't generating any more than our escrow account until COVID and things started diving.
After 40 years, then is the DNR responsible?
Yeah, what happens then?
I don't know. That's just their magic number. So unless the county were to sell off the facility, we would still
The
be.
term you showed before, it was basically forever. I mean, they're saying that's how they do the math, is 40 years for funding, but that's not a fixed number. They just think that probably the leachate will be done and whatever, and after 40 years.
Yeah, it should be pretty. I mean, they're estimating now it to be roughly $77,000 a year for general maintenance. Like, and I would say a third of that would probably be the environmental monitoring.
Is this what you're telling us today, coming before county board too?
No,
No.
Kay had just asked for this as an agenda item.
This is
Give
really,
Finance Committee a better understanding. I have to say, Stacey, this is the best explanation that I've seen. We've talked about this a lot
This is the
at
best.
Infrastructure Committee, and I know it came to board, and I know like there were some board members that didn't
Yeah.
have a great understanding.
that's
If
good.
you can send me this slideshow too, I can send it out to the county board if any of them want to review it.
Yeah, make it an
Just
option.
have the slideshow.
Nope, but I can add it in there.
Yeah, that'd be great. And maybe can you add, if you're gonna put this in there, can you maybe add a note that we are, when we move the funds, that we are going to make the closure cost whole, that it's not actually underfunded by 180,000.
It'll be self-funded.
Yeah, I'll just add another slide discussing that.
Yeah, that would be great.
You referred to this underfunded stuff at county board that time, and that just threw a couple people, you could just tell by their facial expressions that they didn't understand how the difference between these two funds. Or they didn't, well, you might not like it, but there's nothing wrong here.
Right.
The way you've got it explained to us today.
Well, and I think there's other information being thrown at you guys too right now that may or may not be
Yeah,
factual.
but this is all on the level here, as far as money goes.
Yeah, but once it's transferred and you get a full year, all those deficits will be
Yeah,
gone.
that little bit will be
I
gone,
mean,
yeah.
and they'll be making good money, so. If
Yeah.
it's self-funded, I don't know why you'd touch it.
I don't know either. It's good.
Thank you, Stacy. We appreciate the update.
It's in the
Yes,
savings.
absolutely.
Borrowing is sky high.
Okay, and you will send it on to county board then with Cassie's help.
Yes, we'll take care of that.
We'll get that too.
Okay.
Maybe by then.
No rush.
Thank you. Okay, next,
That's it, zero.
you have, go ahead. What did you want to say?
No, I'm just rambling. Go ahead.
All right. That's okay. I don't want to give you the opportunity. I don't want to cut you off.
How do you lose $1 million?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, there must have been issues there, people not paying attention. But it's here or there now.
Okay. Ho-Chunk funded projects. Do we have some updates?
Nothing really to update you on it. You have the worksheet there. Just cleaned it up a little bit with some of those reallocations that we did to note with the resolutions in 2024. For budgeting purposes, the Ho-Chunk request forms were sent out to department heads. Those should be going through their home committees next month.
before those come to the finance committee. And Kay, you're probably the only one who remembers this, but we did develop a matrix for scoring those. So
Yes.
that'll be coming up for the finance committee.
Okay, thank
Very
you.
fun. You bet. And then our ARPA sheet here.
One question on the whole chunk.
Yeah.
The 2019, the flood recovery stuff, how long is that gonna sit there before that can?
There's nothing left there. So we had a balance there of the
Oh,
13,000.
okay.
And we reallocated that to the revenue loss.
Oh, okay.
So I can, if you want me to, I can clean some of this up too. I can take off, you know, the 18 and 19. I had updated those this last month for growth. So it was
I
reallocated.
just didn't do the math. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Any other questions on the chunk sheet?
So the current amount we have in there is 1,416,000 for our budget this year.
Our budget for 2025, we'll have, we get, what is it, Jerry, 1.2 million?
Yeah, we used to
Yeah.
1.2, but
And then we allocate to Town of Whitestown
Yeah.
and Town of Stark. And then the remainder
it's like 50-some thousand for those two.
we put out to department heads for requests. However, we allocated $250,000 to the revenue loss. So of the 2024 funds that we received to be dispersed in 2025 as part of the 2025 budget. So we will have less available for department head requests this year than we have previously.
Are we going to have anything that's going to have to be reallocated from the sheet to 25? We won't know that until it happens.
Well, yeah, possibly. Usually, you know, depending on the projects and what happens, let them sit for a little bit and then see, because sometimes, you know, a project will come in under and then we can reallocate some of those funds, but all those requests come before the finance committee.
What time of year do you get the whole chunk funding?
Usually in the spring, we got it a little early this year. I think we got it in February.
Okay.
I recall.
Actually, Whitestown and Stark is 110,000.
I gotta get on speed here, Cassie. So you're allocating whole chunk money from that you got from the previous year for this next year, or you're allocating ahead from the one we're gonna get?
So we receive it in 24
Yeah,
and then we
allocate.
allocate it in 25.
Okay, we're some behind. Yeah.
And what we had done this last spring is allocated some of those funds already out of the
Already spent.
2024.
Already spent
Yeah,
some.
to make up for that revenue.
Good.
I needed a new desk and some pens.
So that's why we get a new pen every meeting?
Yep.
Very blew the pen budget.
I don't know,
Okay.
that whole chunk funding couldn't be used for the balancing of budget.
There's nothing in our agreement with the Ho-Chunk.
Nothing that says that.
No. And we were required to report to them every year on how we spend
And they
those
don't
funds.
question.
So I
Okay.
made sure we took care of that this last year. Sent them a thank you letter.
I think
Something we do, and this, I was here when this started, was, you know, where their lands are, that's where we donate this money to these townships.
Mhm.
So, you know, we're directly
You're
supporting them there already.
Right. Okay.
Hey,
That's just one more step.
you're receiving like a per acre
Yeah, and it's
Like a-
in those two townships.
pill
Oh, my.
in those two municipalities, so they're not getting any town tax, so that's where we're
Yeah, so
offsetting.
we're actually kind of kicking it back, you know, you might say.
But as long as you're not using all of it.
Right.
I think that's probably what you're looking at.
Yeah.
If somebody would take all of it and just say, we're gonna keep it year after year, they probably quit donating, but we're not doing that thing.
I know like Jackson County gets like $3.5 million a year. There's a lot of reservation up there too. And so
Yeah.
Well, and I think
Yeah, I
a
see.
great example of putting it back out into the community, you know, we do the community development grant program where we do put those out to the municipalities and they can apply. That's a great way of getting that money back into the community.
I don't recall they've ever had any questions I mean, we've had this for 10 to more years already, and I don't recall any.
Well, the thing to keep in mind is they don't have to do it.
They don't have to, that could be going.
This was all a tax thing, wasn't it? It was like a tax thing with the state. That's why they allocated it.
Yeah, it could have went to
It was
the state.
for 10 years and I think it's been going on for 1400.
Great.
I just know some of it's my money because I've been up to Jackson County and then, cause
You donated?
I help pay that.
That's good.
We'll just keep on.
Just so you don't ask for a raise to keep funding them.
Yeah, right.
Charity is 10% more.
So it goes around.
Any more questions about the Ho-Chunk funds? And ARPA funding, that's all covered as well?
Yes.
Okay.
We still have that $60,000 pending for the operations plan for Vernon Manor and Vernon Acres. However, if the BSJ agreement does go through, we wouldn't need those funds. So those would go back into the pot essentially.
But we have to do something before the
They
end.
have to be allocated. So ARPA funds have to be allocated by the end of 2024 and spent by the end of 2026.
Is there still 200,000 left to allocate?
Yes. Plus potentially the,
211, yeah.
yeah.
Well, why wouldn't we just allocate that to the budget? And
On top of it.
and save the whole chunk money, or put it on top?
We did allocate 500,000
Oh.
of ARPA funds to the revenue law.
Already.
Yep. We do have coming before general government in August, the RFPs for the emergency management building. And I believe that what will be recommended, assuming we approve that and move into finance, is that we use those funds to help offset the cost of that project.
Now, I know at the health meeting last week that I attended, there was a gentleman there, I think you were there. He was from the state, and they're trying to have something signed that they can possibly.
Yeah, their pot of ARPA money with the health department is completely different than this. Yeah. Yeah, the health department has a good problem. They like,
Right.
they've had a ton of COVID money come in and it's finding creative ways to spend it that the state will approve. I don't know if Amy's online.
But she said other counties are trying to extend that so they can use it later on versus having to, I mean,
Blow it.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't foresee that happening with our ARPA money. They put out basically a newsletter that goes out. I don't know if it's every week or every month. And I was just reading it the other day and that question came up and I don't think it's going to happen. They're even talking like if you don't allocate it or expend it, they'll take it back.
How much was the emergency management building?
We don't know until we get the proposals opened.
That is, I remember.
That's on
but-
Monday. Right, Phil? We're opening those? Yeah,
Sure.
Monday. They're due this Friday. We're opening them on Monday.
That'll take care of most of the ARPA money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Want to make sure you didn't overspend on that old committee, you know.
Whatever happened to money for the Cole County shop? Where did that go? Did that go?
I went to highway.
I already set it up. It's
Yeah.
new trucks for everybody,
Going.
new pens,
New vest. See that new vest?
Oh, yeah.
new vest.
The new pens will put me over. That's
Put Jerry over, we know that.
That's frivolous.
Beauty's in the eye of the beholder, you know?
Okay,
Any other ARPA questions? So that'll be our challenge to expend this by the end of the year.
We'll make it happen. Don't worry.
No, it won't be hard.
Not to worry. Not to worry. Long-term financial planning and projects. Anything, any priority budget update?
I'll just state that, you know, we had planned to do this in the spring, the finance director and I, but now it's just I. It's been identified as a goal by quite a few of our board members. The General Government Committee completed my performance review yesterday, and one of the things we discussed were goals. It's one of my goals. It's one of the goals that the county board members have for me that we move towards that, including capital planning as well. So it's very much on my goal list as soon as we get a finance director.
Did you talk to any of the departments about getting the stuff that is required by statute and what is not yet or not?
That has been communicated at a department head meeting, and then when we go through their individual budgets, we'll be discussing that.
See if there's anything.
Yeah.
Well, especially since we don't have ARPA funds to depend on.
Yeah.
That would be
It's gonna
different.
be a challenge.
Oh,
But that would be the fun part of the priority-based budgeting, to see what's required and what's subjective and work from there, because that takes some of the,
Takes half of it off the plate.
well, it takes some of the personality out of it. I mean, this is what we have to do. There's not a question, and then go from there.
Okay. Sounds like a plan. We'll wait till next month. Okay, set next meeting date, August. All you have is August. There are two proposed dates for county board. Do I understand that right?
The county board meeting is as early as it can be next month, so it is August 15th. So the Tuesday before that is the 13th. The infrastructure committee meets in the morning. I'm wondering how we feel about meeting that afternoon of the 13th.
What was it again?
The 13th in the afternoon.
There is an election on the 13th.
Yeah,
There.
There is,
yeah.
That's
Are
not
you
a good
working?
day.
Well, I don't think I have infrastructure in the morning also. So I was gonna see, typically I'm supposed to be there the whole day,
oh, okay.
but I'm gonna see if they call me, I could maybe work.
Otherwise Monday?
Huh?
Monday?
In the morning?
Yeah, I've got physical therapy. So I could do 11. My appointment's at 9 in Alaska.
Jesus.
I know.
This for your ankle?
Yeah.
Gotta get yourself in shape, girl.
Gotta be able to hike those mountains.
That's right.
So you're talking August 12th?
August 12th, yeah.
After,
And
you
probably
said
your pen.
11 or later.
11 or later.
Yeah.
Okay, 11 o'clock on the 12th.
That's what you'd like?
Does that work for you, Kay?
Yes, it does.
August 12th at 11?
And the 15th is county board that month.
Yes, it is.
Potentially,
When is the,
because you won't be here.
Don't move it. On that next week, I'm gone.
Oh, well, then we won't move it. I just,
some,
it's all about that breastfeeding.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't like that.
So if you're not going to be here the next week, we'll have it on the 15th.
I think Allison's gone next week too.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's only 5 to 8.
I just want to give them the option.
Means 4 days in a row.
right?
Yeah.
All right. And on that,
I hear you. That's the old.
You guys
Sure, you must set it up and take it down for him.
waiting for our chair.
What's that? That's up to
There's numbers. Oh,
Last week.
They always amuse me.
adjourned.
He said
They got rid of some
We're on agenda items.
there.
Yeah.
Not as many.
Yeah.
Anything else, Kay?
No, I don't have anything. Would someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much for tolerating me at a distance. I apologize, but hopefully it'll be better in the future.
Hey, more donuts for
It
us.
worked really well. Thank you, Kay.
Need more donuts? Okay, I might
Oh,
not
we
have
do.
donuts.